It's. Yeah.
Thanks for correcting the name.
All right, good afternoon, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Make sure I start with myself, turn my phone and my computer off before I invite everyone else. All right, this is Committee Chair Mujahid Muhammad. I would like to welcome you all to the November 13th Safety and Wholeness Committee meeting. We're here today streaming from the Dorothy Heights Elementary School. We have viewers in person and online. Thank you all for being here. And I want to send out a shout out to our principal, Ogeral, who is an amazing leader in the district and took the opportunity to welcome the board into his building and the community into his building. And we want to say thank you for your leadership. If you have not already done so, those online and those in person, please mute your phone and or computer. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from today's call. Additionally, please turn off your camera if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff. I will now read a roll call of the board members. Please identify yourself before speaking for the record. Commissioner Kikis Guzman, Commissioner Simmons,
Commissioner Simmons present.
Commissioner Slater Harrington. She will be joining us momentarily. And members of the public who would like to provide comment to this committee can do so by written or pre-recorded testimony. Please submit written testimony and or your pre-recorded video the day before the committee meeting. Up to 5 individuals will be given the opportunity to provide comment to the Safety and Wholeness Committee. Speakers will be granted 3 minutes. All public comments should address issues of safety and wholeness. Individuals or groups interested in providing comment to the committee can do so in 2 ways. Email public.comment@bcps.k12.md.us. Still nice to say. Visit the board office at Alice G. Penderhughes, Building 200 East North Avenue, room 402. You may also call the board office at 443-642-4095 with any questions that you have about this procedure. Finally, the chat function during our virtual meeting will not be used as a tool for gathering feedback and or answering questions from the public. If you have follow-up questions or feedback to provide to the board, email schoolboard@bcps.k12.md.us, and the board office staff will provide a response to you. Again, welcome to our special edition of Safety and Wholeness, where we will also be doing an update on the CEO search. But I want to have Principal Ogeral bring us greetings.
Good evening, everyone. Actually, good afternoon, everyone. I just want to welcome everybody to Dorothy Heights Elementary School. Just a little bit about Dorothy Heights. It was completed in 2018. It was one of the first 21st century schools done in Baltimore City. And the only thing I have to say about that is every student in Baltimore City deserves a school. So with that being said, I just want to welcome you. It's good to see like familiar faces here. So I want to say thank you. Thanks for supporting us. Thanks for asking me to host. And welcome. And I'll turn it back over to the board. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So, again, today is a special meeting for us as we will be giving an update on the search. We will also have the opportunity to hear from you as the voice of the community as a whole is a part of this process. That community includes our staff throughout the district in all its roles. And without your voice, this search is not complete. So there will be several points, including this, where we will provide opportunity for your voice to be incorporated into the efforts that we are making to identify and bring in our future CEO. With that, I'm on the other side of this because there is a presentation that I have. So should I go sit in that seat?
No, you're good.
I'm good. Okay. Great. So we have a quick update on the CEO search that we will give. We will return so we understand what we're doing. There are going to be some presentations as this is our committee meeting. So we will hear from staff regarding our policies and the work that we're doing day to day. And then we're going to have the opportunity to be able to hear from you regarding the CEO search. So with that said, let me get started. These are the opportunity and touch points that will be provided throughout this process. You see, we have a telethon that happened, a town hall that occurred, that have community gatherings such as this. There are interviews and focus groups, which we have done. And in that case, we've done so far 44. And student and community surveys, there are 2,706 touches, which is really amazing because it is displaying our commitment to ensuring that student voice is heard and a part of this process. Next slide. During the summer break, the board began working intently to find the next Chief Executive Officer for Baltimore City Public Schools. With the collaboration of our search firm, Alma Advisory Group, the board developed the CEO search process and pivotal moments for stakeholder engagement. The CEO search consists of 3 phases. Phase 1, profile development. Phase 2, candidate recruitment. Phase 3, interviews and selection. Next slide. During phase 1, we engaged with stakeholders across the district to develop a candidate profile outlining the skills and qualities needed for our next CEO. The board and our search firm, Alma Advisory Group, engaged with staff, students, families, community members, and partners to learn more about their needs, wants for the next CEO. The board held in-person and virtual community forums. Our search firm met with key stakeholders and focus groups, and Mayor Scott hosted a telethon town hall to speak with Baltimore residents directly about the search process. Next slide. The board would like to publicly thank everyone who participated in community engagement opportunities and those who shared feedback on the search process through community and student surveys. Next slide. We truly appreciate your thoughtful contribution and continued partnership. And here you can see what we were able to compile. And these are the things that we use to be able to develop the actual profile. Next slide. We are now at the place of having our job description, and you can see some of the key points that were directly aligned to what was provided in conversations and touch points like these. We ensured that your voice was directly, was a direct reflection to what we wanted to communicate to potential suitors of our CEO position. Next slide. All right, after receiving stakeholder feedback, the board analyzed the findings from all community engagement efforts and shared a report of our findings with our school communities. For those interested in reading the full report, you can find it on the CEO search webpage on City Schools website. With the community engagement report, the board created a first draft of the candidate profile and job description. The job description was received and approved and posted late in October, signaling the beginning of phase 2. Next slide. So you can see exactly where we are in the process. We are at the beginning of candidates being identified. So candidates have now the opportunity to engage us as a district and make themselves known. So that process has begun. Next slide. And phase 2 is at the halfway point. In phase 2, the board will work with our search firm, Home Advisory Group, to recruit and conduct interviews with qualified candidates. Phase 3 will involve more interviews and additional stakeholder engagement. That's why we are here. Culminating in the board selecting the new CEO and beginning the transition. For more details about the CEO search, please visit the CEO search webpage on City Schools website. You can also email any questions you have about the search to ceosearch@bcps.k12.md.us. As mentioned earlier, we are at the point where we are developing questions for the CEO interviews. If you can, today we would like to hear potential questions or topics that you believe the board should ask during interviews. You can send them to the board office and we will review them. And I'll say this. I'll start with this. And this is why we're here. But does anyone like to share and express any thoughts around our search today? We do, because we are here, but we're going to do it in a way where there are potential questions that would be helpful for us as a board to ask, that would give insight that you in your seats as leaders, you in your seats as sat in your seats as community members, would be able to have a different viewpoint than we potentially could as commissioners. And the questions that we ask during this period should reflect all of our viewpoints. We don't want to leave them out. So let's be clear, this is about, this is solely about developing and assisting the board with how we process, how we ask questions, how we gain insight that aligns to the needs of our young people in Baltimore City. So we're going to come back to that. We're going to move on with our first presentation, our school-based health update. We invite you up to get us started.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
My name is Sonia Goodwin, and I am the Executive Director for Whole Child Services and Supports. And I am joined by, even though the screen says Manager of Nursing Operations, Mary Cottle. This is actually our coordinator of the Office of Health and Specialized Student Services. Mary had an emergency, and so as we do in city schools, we make sure that we can step in. So the coordinator is here today to present for us. As we go to the objective, today we are here to give an update of the school health implementation services in Baltimore City schools, and I'm going to turn it over to Alice.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. The health suite of nursing, the nurse manager's primary position in nursing operations is to ensure that our health services. Oh, okay.
Okay, just
Both back on
you're
the
good.
seat.
This mic's on.
Okay.
Just speak up a little bit. That's
Okay. That city schools manager of nursing operations, she ensures that our school health services are delivered in accordance with state regulations, as well as the Nurse Practice Act of America. Next slide. So these are our university partners, which is Coppin State University, Johns Hopkins School of Nursing, and Morgan State University. And we continue to partner with those entities to ensure that our schools have quality health care throughout the school year. Next slide. So these are the duties of coverage for Baltimore City Health Department staffing as they do some of our health suite coverages. So currently they are providing staffing to 103 of our schools, 78 those follow that delegation model. We also have CNAs and CMTs within the school daily. We also have an RN that's shared between 3 schools right now, but they are on site part-time 1 to 2 days a week. We also have 25 registered nurses 5 days a week. We have 10 Baltimore City Health Department staffing and 15 agency employees with 100 full-time health aides. City Schools covers 37 of our health suite as an entity itself. So we are definitely proud of that progress that we made in school health. Next slide. So what you see is the health suite data, and that's based upon visits to the health center. Right now, we just got started with school, so we're still in the process of collecting comprehensive data to make sure that we're able to offer that up momentarily. But as you can see, we still are continuing to track physical illnesses, so physical injuries, any type of mental health or medication. Next slide. Here we have the private duty nursing utilization. I know you guys didn't know PDN, but that's private duty nursing. And so with that, our school program recognizes that there may be a continuous need to have private duty nursing for some students. But as our process continues to remain steady by providing PDN only to medically necessary based on the evaluation of students under the care, as well as our application process through the Office of Health and Specialized Student Services. One of the things we do is we strategically select these health suites that we control Baltimore City in, because we noticed that we had higher numbers of students with these one-on-one aides. And so we wanted to shift that by having health suites with full-time RN nurses as opposed to health aides. That gives credibility to what we're doing, and they're also credentialed, so therefore they're able to render additional support based upon their experience in providing that also with our one-on-one aides. So with that, we've been able to reduce the number of one-on-one aides, and we're proud of that as well. Next slide. So some of the school-based health center locations is under the Baltimore City Health Department, Baltimore Medical Systems, as well as Johns Hopkins. And these are, again, comprehensive health centers that provide support to our students each and every day. And some of the services listed in this next slide are, here we go. These services are offered by the school, physicals, wellness exams, vaccination, nutrition, medication. All of these things are in some of those schools. And again, we look to them because they're comprehensive. They provide the support we need, and we really are advocating to have more of these in the near future. Next slide. So some of the highlights that we have here, our partners with Vision to Baltimore and Vision to Learn. In 24-25, they serviced 2,400 students. However, this year, we are implementing the high schools, which are also getting free replacement pair of glasses with 18 months of their exam. So again, we're proud of that as well. And then about 1,300 active high schoolers are still eligible to receive those glasses. So we didn't have that before, and we are absolutely ecstatic about being able to provide high schoolers with this particular service. And as well as the Baltimore City Health Department dental program, students continue to be seen by the mobile dental clinic by request. Next slide. Okay. So with City Schools and Hazel Health, last year was our first year with Hazel Health as our virtual behavioral health partner, and we serviced about 1,949 students in total sessions, and 1,227 students were referred. Now, we have a 76% engagement rate. This year, we hope to have more. We understand that it got started a little late, but we still are this year seeing traction increase right now. Next slide. So some of the reasons for referrals that Hazel sees, more so tier 1 and tier 2 services that they offer, they try to provide proactive, active approach and early intervention support. So there are struggling students, those with anxiety, family concerns, but what we see mostly, as you can see here, are students feeling anxious or withdrawn. So our goal is to continue to support them in this virtual model that we have in schools as well as at home. Next slide. So as you can see here, the elementary and middle grades were the most engaged this past year, and we want to see that grow across the high schools. One, because again, we see our increase in 5th grade. We see that's a transitional year into 6th grade. We also see an uptick in 8th grade because again, it's a transition to 9th grade. And then we still saw a lot of engagement in our primary grades. And so that was interesting to see because we didn't think that it would take off in the way that it did with the younger kids, but that's been successful as well. So this year, again, we want to continue to see how if we make an additional adjustment we get high schools more involved in, referrals, and we're also working with the, school counselors in that endeavor. Next slide. Okay, since July 1, what we've seen for 25-26 is there have been about 65 referrals. Now that was before, we probably have some more. Then we are projecting that our volume will go up, especially in schools once we get more people on board. But also we're fine with them seeing a therapist at home in the, if need be. Next slide. So again, we continue to look at the highlights for students involved, and again, we talk about 700 visits. That's visits in total for 201 students. So they can see Hazel up to 6 months. If need be, they can see them a little longer, but the goal for them is short-term therapeutic services. And if they believe that the student needs additional support, then they will refer them back to the school. They should be able to see ESPH providers and or a community health provider if needed. Next slide. So this year's our focus based upon the debriefing and the data that we saw. Last year, we continued to do updating contact data. We noticed that some of the families were not being able to be contacted. We will continue to push awareness as well as on-site support if need be. And this past week, we worked with the city school counselors and informing them about the referral process, and we are about to start training with them as well. So that's also another area that we're excited about here. Next slide. So with Hazel Health, we also have in our office the expanded school behavioral health, and that of course is our mental health services in school with our community partners. And so they work closely with city schools. They're part of our student development support team. And so they address those mental health needs, referral in school. The non-affiliated ESBH providers are those providers that want to come into city schools, and that is done through the MOE process and vetting of services for them to provide those supports within schools. So if administrator says, I would like someone else to provide services, this is the process that non-affiliated ESBH providers will have to go through. Next slide. And finally, the scope of services for ESBH is that the providers, of course, consult with school staff. They make themselves a part of the school community. They have groups and individual sessions. They are a part of our student wellness support team for city schools. They are supposed to deliver educational sessions if need be, and of course, support on our school crisis team, response team with our related service department.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you much. I want to open the floor for my fellow commissioners. If you have any questions?
I'm not done with my question, but to start off with this short one. In the first slide, I just wanted to know what is CNA, CMT, and RN.
Okay, so CNA is like a certified nursing student.
Okay.
And CMT is the certified medical technician. So they get certificates in outside of the market.
Speak up a little bit, no, speak up a little bit.
So they receive services. They work in tandem with health speak. So certified medical technician and certified nurse assistant.
And RN?
Oh, registered nurse. There you go.
Okay. I was also looking at the data that Hazel Health provided for leading referral reasons. I was wondering how city schools or the office is going to use this data, because I feel like this would probably help us implementing more safe spaces for kids at school.
Right, so basically, We are also partnering with the school counselors this year. When we look back at the data from last year, we realized that some of the schools did not utilize Hazel to its full potential, and then some students didn't even know about it. So our push is to drive more awareness and partner with other departments so we can come together collectively and provide support and resources for students. Our goal overall is to make sure you all know what's out there and how to access behavioral health if we. Yeah.
I guess to the same, colleague, if you could talk a little bit more about what that connection to those other programs. Because I think like, think about like coordinators in the building, and think about schools that are in this restorative work. I just wanted to know, like, we have so many points, right? So many people doing things, but it's all kind of leading to the, it is leading to the same goal, but how do we talk to them? How do we bring forward, like, this data that, Commissioner Chica mentioned, how can that help the folks and Hollis can, right? And when they think about the partnerships and the relationships that they bring. It's
All right. So we noticed that. We've also talked about it in our budget meeting for finding an alignment. And that's what we're looking for is alignment between different departments. Like community engagement, we've had conversations with them. We've had conversations, of course, with our partners in office, working closely with the attendance team. They've actually been trained as referrals in Hazel. We were seeking again those school counselors and other individuals that can offer that holistic support and actually drive the work within schools. Because you're right, so many people have resource price, they have this, they have that. We really seek to kind of move in a unified way so everyone will know how to access services and even come together to provide that support because it's necessary. So I think it's just a slow walk, but we are doing it because we recognize that we have been working in silos and we desire to be more innovative.
And just, I was gonna say, just to add to that, one of the areas that we said that we were wanting to make sure we were doing is to like track the data. And so the person who was like the lead for all of this for Hazel Health would be Dr. Cisse. But we have charged the other areas like attendance, student conduct, our climate team and Wholeness. We charge them to make sure that like they understand the referral process and when we come together at least once a month, we are having to report out what those numbers are, or like how many students we've actually, or how many families we've actually tried to connect with this.
So for today, for the sake of time, so that we move quickly, I'm gonna provide my questions, but I'll have them back in writing because I think today we want to move quick. So no, you're good, you're good. We need it. All right. So what stood out to me was a question around the criteria to determine allocation when it comes to where we place our nurses. What actually determines how we're spending our money. And then I would love to hear from our counselors, our school leaders, what is their perception of the work that Hazel was providing? I think what I'm hearing over and over is that we have our elementary and maybe our middle schools taking full advantage, and I can see that the numbers are rising. But it seems as if the numbers with high schoolers remain stagnant. So it could be that it's a great resource, but who is it a great resource for? So want to be able to, have some clarity and don't want to guess. Really want to be able to hear that directly from our schools so that we can kind of make a determination on how we move forward. So thank you. Great presentation. I appreciate the work and commitment to health and housing. All right, next up, we have community school updates.
So, good evening, commissioners and those online. Today, Gina had covered, I am the Chief of Communications, Engagement, and Enrollment. Community schools lovely sits under our bucket around community engagement. So with me today, I have Holly Gonzalez, who is our amazing manager of community schools. I have Monique Sims, who's our director of community engagement. And then I also, because the next agenda item was the partner update, the partners presentation is actually merged into ours. That's how we work together, right, partner? And so we also have Heidi Stevens, I'm gonna get her exact title right here. She is the Senior Director for Community Schools in the Public Neighborhood Zone for the United Way. And so she's gonna give us an update both on what the United Way is doing overall very quickly, but also on the rental assistance program that they are helping facilitate for our families. I just wanna reframe that we did this presentation a little differently because we are encouraging our community schools coordinators to use story mapping to tell the stories of their schools and communities. And so Holly has put together a lovely presentation that will demonstrate the story mapping. We won't always do it this way because it's a little bit complicated, getting decks over and that kind of thing. We wanted you to see firsthand how we're asking our coordinators to tell the stories of our schools using this tool. So with that, I'll turn it over to Holly.
All right. Thank you, Chief Head Cover, and thank you, commissioners, for having us here for this update today. And yes, it is going to be a story map. So in addition to questions, we'd love your feedback on this tool. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to ground ourselves just quickly with the purpose for community schools, which is to ensure that all students in the district are learning and succeeding over the course of their lives through an integrated focus on a lot of different areas. And we will talk through some of them in this update. This comes from Board Policy 80H. Thank you again to everybody who helped us revise it last year. We appreciate that. We like to start by acknowledging our history. And so community schools have been here in Baltimore City for, more than 20 years now at this point. We have, commissioners who are former community school coordinators, a lot of expertise in this room and around me. The concentration of poverty grant that came in fiscal year 2020 is really what led to the expansion. But even before that and continuing, there are other sources that support community schools here in Baltimore City. And so that large expansion would not have been possible without our community school lead agency services. So this map here that might be a little bit hard for everybody to see, I'm going to pull it up a little bit, has the community schools in 2019. Now we have currently 13 lead agency partners. They are universities. They are large, centrally located nonprofits like the United Way. There also are community development corporations and some of our larger development providers. And this is the map in 2019. And if we look at the map of community schools today, we will see that we have many, many more. So the district hires 55 of those community school, or 56 of those community school coordinators, and 95 are hired by community-based lead agencies. These lead agencies were selected through an RFP process and are responsible for meeting all community school deliverables as defined by the state. So a quick update on those deliverables and what they are. We have a map here. So this is a needs assessment year for us in the community school system. And as you're looking here, what you'll see are the pink schools are ones that are doing a detailed needs assessment using the MSDE form for the first time. They have assessed needs before, but the state has recently revised and improved their format. So this is the first time using the newest iteration of that tool. If you see the blue and yellow schools here, the 4 and the 33, they have done a needs assessment in the last 2 years, but they are revising this year. And the reason is, and we're going to hear a little bit from our partner in a minute, that we are seeing the needs in our communities and neighborhoods increasing right now, right? Like, the impacts of certain policy decisions. We are seeing the SNAP benefits and how that affected so many families. I'm grateful that they are in the process of being turned back on, but that was a resource that has really been needed in our communities. And so, as community schools, we want to be responsive to what we are seeing in our neighborhoods. So again, kind of like this is a year we are all assessing needs. And at the end of it, we'll be able next year to give you guys an update on kind of like what we saw across the city during this time. And the ways that they did that. This is a little bit of information from last year. So we submitted 30 implementation plans to the state community school implementation plans, and they had a variety of focus areas and goals. By far, the most common one was attendance. And so our attendance team, some of them were here earlier. I don't know if they're still behind me, but they are incredible partners. They're attending each of our bi-monthly networking systems. We're working, I just talked to them about some increased access for our community school coordinators, and the majority of community school coordinators all serve on their attendance teams. If they don't, it's because they usually call the attendance team something else at that school, right? So of the 30 plans, because only a portion needed to submit them to the state last year, 29 actually had attendance goals spelled out, but it is an expectation that everybody is supporting it. The next most common areas of focus for community school coordinators are family engagement, and then there was kind of a tie between climate and culture and academics in terms of what their goals were focusing on. And if you can see here, we kind of subdivided a bit, though it might be difficult for people to see on the screen. So for example, in family engagement, there were goals around access to resources, mental wellness for families, increasing perhaps like participation in a parent-teacher organization, and others. So for the culture and climate goals, that it was things like mentoring, improving kind of the school environment, and working to reduce suspension.
Before Holly goes on, I just want to make one point, just so clarity. The needs assessment happens first, then every community school must create an implementation plan out of the needs assessment that guides the priorities for the work. So Holly jumped to the implementation plans. I just want to make sure folks are aware of that. And then when these new needs assessment plans are done for this year, they will then have to resubmit new implementation plans that align to the needs we've heard from the families. Thank you. Sorry.
So, and then here it is. I just made it a bit bigger so if people are watching kind of like on their computers or screens, you can read a bit of it. All right. We are also working to tell our story. So we have been developing in different ways. So this is Story Map. We're also working on a Power BI dashboard, and we do have a draft version of it here. So I'm going to click on this, and if you have questions, we can look at it in a little bit of detail if we have time later. So it includes like a little bit of information about the school, the number of partnerships and volunteers. It includes some key outputs, such as the amount of in-kind and direct leveraged resources. It also includes how many students participated in some of the key wraparound service categories. That is a new requirement this year. Last year was the first time we reported those numbers to the state. And it also includes implementation plan goals for that community school. So we do want to make sure that this information is out there and that everybody in the school community is aware of it. And we are working kind of to make that public at this time. The dashboard also does include links to some other public facing information, because as we create it, we just wanted to be sure that we're not, creating two sources of information that may be saying the same thing. So if information comes up in another district dashboard, then we link to it in this item instead of trying to replicate it and making sure we're on the same update cycles. All right, so wraparound services in action. Community school wraparound services are very important from the perspective of the state and the blueprint for Maryland's future. There are 14 wraparound services that community school coordinators can be working with. So we wanted to give you some highlights about these outputs from the previous year. The first one is enrichment experiences. 31,700 students were reported at community schools as participating in these additional enrichment experiences. It can include things like field trips for the Lakewood students to, and I will tell you the photos are lovely, to the Baltimore School for the Arts Nutcracker, which is what we have here. And sometimes we have a lot of really great pictures, so there's more than one. So this is a young man from one of the United Way-led community schools, I believe, Heidi, at their Emergency Responders Day. This was a field trip and enrichment experience where he gets to go and learn how those brave men and women are like supporting our neighborhoods and communities, and he's sitting in a helicopter. I don't know if people can tell. I'll go more quickly through the rest of them, but for extended learning, we had 25,700 students reporting participation in this. This included summer and after school programs. This is a photo of the Youth Ambassadors program, and they're designing some of their student-led projects. Family and community engagement is another important wraparound service, and so this can include connection to resources, which we will talk about in a little bit, but also engagement in decision-making and leadership. And so here we have a parent-teacher organization meeting at Falstaff Elementary and Middle School. Oh, and this is another one where a lot of great pictures. So we also have Grace Lind O'Donnell Heights at their back to school night, giving out resources to families so that students are showing up ready to learn. Physical wellness is an area of focus that really, with the concentration of poverty grants, more schools in the district have been investing in to make sure that students have those really exciting opportunities that make them want to come to school. So we had 13,200 physical wellness opportunities reported for students last year. Here's a great picture of the girls flag football team from NAP taken on Poly. We also have from like a recent Reach football team going on there. And the final wraparound service I'll talk about before kind of transitioning to the next part of our presentation is improvements to the learning environment. Oh. Maybe it'll come back. There it goes. So this is a very broad wraparound service category. Again, these are defined by the state and by legislation. And so here you have a picture of a group of students at Cross Country Elementary and Middle School. They're doing a community cleanup. I believe they're also earning some service learning hours. Improvements to learning environment, though, can also include some of the resources that we're providing in our classrooms and to support academics in our community schools. And then this last picture I also love because our learning environments are not just in our schools. So this is actually a group of Baltimore City School students. I'll put in updates. If it updates. Well, it is a love. I'm going to do it like this to the board of commissioners. It is a lovely picture of a bunch of Baltimore City School students. They're actually creating a Believe mural at the Baltimore Urban Baseball Association. So this is not a school. Yeah, they're a great partner, right? In Southwest Baltimore. And I love the fact that like at community schools, our students are not just like working to improve like school learning environments, but the community ones as well. And I'm sorry for the folks online if you couldn't see that, or the folks in the rest of the room.
But I think while you're moving, Holly, it's important to know that we're providing resources for sustainability for families, but we're also providing self-actualized experiences for students. And that's the key. Community schools isn't just a needs deficit conversation. That is real for us, but it's also how to get kids to have real access to things that make them, bring them joy, make them see themselves in the school community as being part of the broader thing. Yeah, so.
That's great. Like, I love it. Like, this is one of the, it is an athlete's day, right, lady? But it also is responsive to needs. So, for example, there are 71 food banks in community schools. They gave away 2.1 million pounds of food last year from those food banks. And like I said, this is a moment when they're giving them out that food out quite quickly right now. And we are going to transition to talk about a very specific community school resource, the Community School Rental Assistance Program. This was made through legislation from the state of Maryland to provide additional rental assistance funds to families that have a student enrolled in at the moment here in a Baltimore City community school, but at a community school throughout the state.
And those funds do not come to us, but others apply to be facilitators for those funds. And that's what Heidi's going to talk about with us today.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Board of Commissioners, for having me today. I'm Heidi Stevens. I'm the Senior Director of Community Schools for United Way of Central Maryland. I also work in the Poppleton neighborhood within the neighborhood zone with the United Way. We have 6 community schools. The United Way is the lead agency for. We have schools in South Baltimore, Brooklyn, Curtis Bay. We have schools in Southwest Baltimore, Poppleton, Hollins Market, Franklin Square area. And we have a school in Southeast Baltimore, Commodore John Rogers, in which they have a 21st century school coming online, hopefully by next January. We also have 2 family centers that operate in high schools. So if you have a student, a young lady, or a young man who has a child anywhere between 6 weeks to 3 years old, we're able to pick you up at your home in a United Way van with your child, take you to either Excel High School or Ben Franklin High School. Your child is in a family center getting the foundation that they need to move on to pre-K and having some wonderful bonding time with their mothers or their fathers, while that mother or father is able to go to class to receive their diploma. So really been able to cut down on the number of kids who are dropping out of school because they're trying to raise a family at a young age. So it's a very successful program, really incredible. But what I want to tell you about is the Community School Rental Assistance Program. I'm really excited about this program because it is kind of unique. As you know, housing stability is a challenge for Baltimore families. The program provides short-term rental, not only rental, but utility assistance and housing stability support to families at risk of homelessness or eviction. The program reduces student mobility. A lot of the times families are evicted, so now they have to change schools, or they're moving around, or they're out of school for one reason or the other. It also strengthens family stability and ensures children remain connected to their community schools, where they have relationships, where they have connectedness with staff, and also where they can find resources in that community school. Now, the state of Maryland, this is something that the state of Maryland is doing all across the state, but the United Way was able to get the RFP, if you will, to be able to distribute close to $3 million in funds for rental assistance, which is really making a difference for our families. Now, what's unique about this program is that the eligibility requirements are very low barrier. So it's helping families to receive assistance that they need. You must attend a Baltimore City public schools. There's public school, community school. There is no income cap, and you must be a renter. So really, that's basically it. Also, what's great about this program is that landlords, they're involved in this as well. So they must complete a portion of the application and agree to specific concessions. So for instance, they have to cancel any pending eviction filings before receiving the payment. Many times with rental assistance programs, the landlord will receive the funds, the money in arrears, but then they will go ahead and evict the family. Can't do that with this program. Also, there's a pause on new filings for at least 30 days after assistance ends or while prospective rent is being covered. And then finally, they have to offer a 90-day lease renewal if the lease is expiring. So that's really important as well. So what's interesting also is that we were able to train all 151 community school coordinators, some school social workers, and other city agencies connected to our families, because sometimes they are first responders, if you will. A family will come to that coordinator, who will go to that school social worker, and will say, hey, we're about to be evicted. Can you help me? So those coordinators are extremely important in making sure that they know how the program works, or able to connect with the United Way to be able to get that information. So what about the numbers? Where are the numbers so far? Well, we launched the first week of October, and we received 478 applications, and it just went up, and Holly has the numbers there of applications. So we're just in this same week, 11/10, and on Monday when I got these numbers, we had 55. We have to have $1.48 million spent down before December 31st, which we are like, we're there. We're almost there at this point. And the remaining 1.48 must be spent before the end of the fiscal year. So June 30th, 2026. But I have a feeling we probably will be out of that before June 30th. We are required as part of the grant to do official reporting, but as of now, the total number of applications are 1,668. These are Monday numbers. And the approved payment so far is close to $800,000, $788,140.21. So it's interesting also is that the average number, like it's not like someone just needs like 1 month rent. People are behind. They're behind in their BGE bills. They're behind in their water bills. They're behind in their rent. So the average is somewhere between $6,000 and $8,000 to be able to pay those arrears for families. But it's been a great opportunity through all of this. Number one, we've really been able to engage with landlords, which is really important. And we can really work with landlords and helping them to understand what people are going through, and really building those relationships with landlords, then I think we'll go a long way in helping our families to stay housed. We've also, it's been great to hear from community school coordinators, from school social workers, from school counselors. And I received an email not too long ago from a community school coordinator. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but what she says is that she was working with a parent. She says the parent is in a mental state that has us concerned. So we were trying to help her. With her job, she spends all day helping others, but things had just been piling up, one on top of the other, till she could barely stand on her own. I just want to say that this program very likely saved her life. People are stressed out. So this is why we all do the work that we do. So it's an honor to serve the families of Baltimore City, especially community schools, since that's my work that I've been in for like years, and just working with the family. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask my commissioners to hold back their questions today. Just for the sake of time as we're in community, we want to keep things moving, but I want you to provide the questions to the staff so they can respond in writing. So go for it. Yep, and then just so you can, make sure that it's heard, and then you can receive your answers back. Right.
So I was just wondering if it's possible to expand the program to all schools. And, yeah.
Okay.
It isn't.
Oh, it is?
Every single school.
Okay, I thought it was only community schools. So it.
Every school is a community
Every
school.
school is a community school.
In Baltimore City,
Baltimore
luckily.
City.
Not in every county, but in Baltimore City.
That's true. There are some counties that have funding, but they can only work with those that are community.
Sure, I guess the follow-up would be, how is this program or resource being shared with families and students? Because sometimes families aren't as engaged with city schools as some students are, and I just feel like letting students know first and having them going to their families would be very important and probably help many other families. I'm just wondering, how do we advocate and how do we spread the word?
That's a really good question.
We got,
He doesn't want to stay on.
yeah.
Okay.
It's okay, I know.
Because of time.
We're all too excited about it, right?
So I'll say kudos. Thinking about 10 years ago when I was born, did not exist. We were scrambling trying to find housing and find dollars and find all the things. So great job. And I'll say that I'm also on the board of United Way, so I kind of know that. But and it's not to be the Debbie Downer in it, but just to think. One, I guess the first part is, how long a family is able to be a part of this, right? And in the sense of us creating stable families, again, how long are folks able, right? What is that work to kind of get folks up and off of this opportunity, right? Because you can't enable people for, I met you and your child when the kid was in kindergarten and now he's in 12th grade. Can't still be in the same, because that means we haven't really done our job. So to be quick, then we can become enablers. And I just don't want us to fall into that.
And us I appreciate the presentation because this is why community schools exist. Community schools, and particularly organizations like United Way, find ways to fill gaps that city schools just cannot. So I want to thank you for your work as you are representing the goal of why why community schools were created, and why it's such a priority for us as a board, as a district, and reality, our students and our families. It's a priority for them because they come to school to be educated and to feel as though when I have a need, there's someone there that I can talk to that's going to help me find it. And you're helping to find those gaps. Thank you, United Way, for what you do. And staff, thank you for this great presentation of the work of community schools. And for the sake of time, we're going to move on. All right, so we're going to pivot a little bit right now. I want to jump into the question in which we started. We're going to come back to our compliance reports. When you come up with your compliance report, for the sake of time, I'm going to actually pull back your presentation. However, we will have some questions for you because you are presenting on some really important work. If there are questions, we'll present them. If there aren't, because I don't have questions for both. If there aren't, we can move quickly. But with that said, let's get to our CEO. So I'm going to soften the blow because there were individuals who had to leave and they couldn't have their questions be provided, but we do have one. And I'll start with that question, and hopefully this will help us understand how we can really shape these questions to assist the board to get to the best CEO for Baltimore. So the question reads, and I'm just reading it as it is, considering the 11 key areas combined as the CEO's responsibilities, what and or evidence-based practices have you selected that will help you establish an integrated vision that leads to a comprehensive impact, given the 11 categories, again, of the CEO's responsibilities? And then they broke it down as an exercise considering those 11 areas and ensuring school success for Baltimore City. They would like a potential applicant to describe how they would like to proceed to select individuals and qualified school leaders throughout the district to increase student success. So what I read this as what is their process in selecting leaders, whether it be leaders in our school buildings, whether it are instructional leaders, whether it be leaders at the district. What is their process and how does it align to the categories we already have set for our superintendent? So that's a question that was given. And we're going to take that into consideration and add that to the voice of school staff, and school leaders that was provided to us, so that we can do something similar to what you saw earlier. We're going to take your voice and we're going to try our best to then shape it into what we're actually going to do as a process of the search. So right now we are establishing questions. Those questions are not written in stone because we have not talked to you yet. We are here talking to you, looking for your voice, looking for your opinion, but more importantly, really looking for your expertise. We have a lens, but you have the lens that really counts because you are doing this work day to day. You have students that are experiencing the work day to day, and we want to lead through the advice that you can get. So the floor is now open for anyone who has a potential question or some potential insight, or even a push that the board should take into consideration during this process. Please.
I don't have a formal question. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I've been with city schools for 31 years, and as you can imagine, over that time, I've had several superintendents slash CEOs later on. And I just want to say thank you to the board for the opportunity to give, because the point of me saying the 31 years is I've never had the opportunity when we were getting a new CEO. And I think that that's a very important perspective of persons that work at, district level to give your input. So my input was given during one of the focus sessions for district office. And I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for us allowing us to share our input. And I'm sure that input that we gave can be formalized into a question. But I don't want to publicly, state a question tonight, but I just want to say thank you for the opportunity for us to be able to give our input and feeling like we are valued to be able to give input around it. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you highlighting that, because there were opportunities that were had, and I think staff took advantage of them. And that information, that information has been codified, and we want to continue that process. And we just want you to know publicly that for this board, this is going to be our norm throughout the process. So thank you for taking that into consideration. Anyone else? And I know this is tough. I know this is a tough one, but these are just questions. These are questions, these are insights, and that's it. Well, we are going to move on, because I'm not going to push for this one. I'll push for a lot, but this one I'm not going to push for. But I'll say this. We want you to be a part of this process. And if there are ways to increase your voice in a place that is comfortable, that leads to us being able to have those questions and ensuring that our questions in this process reflect your priorities, reflect your needs, particularly as leaders, because the invitation was sent out from this committee, looking directly towards you. You are part of this process. And our effort here is to ensure that we reflect your vision in our roles. So thank you for that. We are going to move on with our compliance report review. When you come up, if we can get a short synopsis of the policy that you're reviewing, and then we don't have to go into full presentation. And then we'll have any questions from my fellow commissioners, and we're coming to an end. So we're going to start with school police. Policy ECAE. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. I will do my level best to abbreviate the presentation. I would still like to have the support of the slide deck.
Absolutely.
And we'll skip through it.
Absolutely.
While that's loading, I'll introduce myself. My name is Chad Ellis. I'm a major in the school police department, serving as the deputy chief of police. Chief Shorter is obviously not available tonight. He sends me confidently. He told me to say that confidently, to fill his shoes, right? So I will move swiftly through this presentation, but I want to, Jonathan, you can move on to the next slide. I want to talk about the agenda, and it will include an overview of policy-related data and all pertinent information interrelated do this presentation. And included in the slide deck is the listed appendices for later questions. Next slide. The policy supports board priorities 4 and 5, and city schools will actively involve parents, families, caregivers, community partners to support and enhance student success and achievement. City schools will provide equal access to all services, resources, facilities, empowering students and staff and the community to thrive. Right? That's the basis of ECAE, right? That is what we're here to do. Next slide. On this slide, you'll see the collaboration of legal and policy alignment. That we can go through that because we are meeting that. But what I will say is the policy is firmly grounded in the Maryland law and COMAR regulations, ensuring compliance with all legal standards, governing school safety, student discipline, and conduct while doing so. It also aligns with board-related policy and regulations to create a unified framework that upholds the student rights, ensures lawful and equitable enforcement, promotes safe and supportive learning environments, and defines clear roles for school police and administrators, not separate. And so we're collaborating with administrators daily, every single day. Together, these statutes and policies provide the legal foundation and operational consistency guiding all school police activities within city schools. Next slide, please. Okay. Let's go to Jonathan. Let's go to slide 6. Go one more. So the school police department is dedicated to creating and maintaining safe learning environments through equitable, professional, relationship-driven policing by partnering with administrators, as I've said. We will promote safety and trust and collaboration across school community. Next slide. This policy aligns with national law enforcement best practices through President Obama's 21st century policing. As we all know, President Obama was the backbone behind the task force on 21st century policing, which brings forth community integration into policing, right? Through 6 pillars of professional policing and accountability. Next slide, please. Actually, can you go to slide 9? Jonathan. Yes. So importantly, to be in compliance with ECAE, our training alignment, with the training and alignment, school police training aligns with not only state law, but board policy and national best practices, emphasizing legal compliance and accountability, professional readiness, ethical and equitable policing, specialized in, and lastly, but more importantly and most importantly, specialized instruction. So we work to ensure our officers are familiar with behavioral crises, autism, intellectual and developmental disabilities, conflict resolution, gang awareness and their awareness to ensure compassionate and informed responses. Next slide, please. Go one more, Johnson, please. Our diversion strategy, which runs in compliance with this policy, directs schools to divert eligible students from the juvenile and criminal justice systems to school and community-based interventions addressing racial and ethnic disparities in discipline and arrest. What does that mean exactly? That means we are trying to divert and provide a pathway forward for our youth when they find themselves in crisis. That's super important where we sit as a support role for educators. Between school year 22 and 23 and 24 and 25, oversight of the diversion program shifted from school police to Office of Student Conduct and Attendance to strengthen oversight, data tracking, and equity-driven implementation. So in school year 24-25, we had the diversion summary resulted in essentially 1,787 total referrals, 359 duplicates. That's an important stat because what happens is there were separate entities that were likely referring the same child. So we had to have a mechanism to identify that duplicate and then make sure it was only one particular entry to count it appropriately, and to make sure we weren't skipping or missing a child. We processed 1,428 diversions, and 1,090 were accepted into the program. There were 348 rejections based on the thresholds and the establishment of that practice. Of those referral resources, school police referred 544 students, right? That's 544 young minds, young individuals that we want to ensure the opportunity to succeed. Next slide, slide 12, please. Rising challenges and continued restraint. So in short, what this graph is going to say is that school police are here to protect, to serve, to provide a safe environment. And as a last resort, if in fact we have to intervene with force, we arrest with purpose. But we do that as a last resort. So this graphic will show Baltimore City has made 32 arrests that were made in 23-24 and 75 in 24-25. And you'll see additionally 25 adult arrests were made during the 24-25 school year. It's an important element to understand. What we're seeing in schools is there are affrays occurring with juveniles, but families are coming too, right? And we do everything we can in collaboration with the Office of Suspension Services, the climate teams, with our partners in allied law enforcement to identify issues before and when they, to do everything we can to identify those things before they get to schools, and to do what we can proactively in the spirit of prevention, right? So we are integrating into communities, not just responding to a call when something goes bad. We're trying to exemplify how to be positive partners in this initiative, and that is our youth. Can you go one more slide, please, Jonathan? So conflict resolution. One thing that's important to Chief Shorter is feedback, right? What do students think of their interactions overall with the officers they are interacting with? So across the board, in 24-25, respondents were more favorable about relationships with school police than in 23-24, right? We are committed to professional policing. Our commitment is to treat everyone with dignity, equity, and respect. And from there, we will build that throughout our ranks, and that will become the contagion with our children and those who we interact with. Next slide, please, Jonathan.
And those results were from the school police report card that was administered.
Okay, so on slide 14, we talked just very briefly about accountability and oversight. No more important items than police accountability and the administrative charging committee, right? MPAA guides us through that. So in compliance with this policy and the law, we ensure that we are policing responsibly, we are holding ourselves accountable, and we are able and willing to allow the public to bring forth that feedback officially, unofficially, however they want to bring it forth, whether it's an external complaint, internal complaint. We have seen, next slide, please. We have seen uses of force reduce, right? Consistently over the last 2 school years, and we are on track. I just presented last week to the Police Accountability Board about the reductions in use of force, and we did have 1 complaint externally that was forwarded through the Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee. We've investigated thoroughly. They're reviewing it now, and they're handling it according to the Maryland Police Accountability Act. And that partnership and oversight and accountability also is another prong of success because it's transparency based, right? I'm super energized by that, right? We want to be able to report back on what we do, why we do what we do. Next slide, please. Community engagement. Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. So in the spirit of community engagement, we have several events that we we have throughout the year. Obviously, there's a national night out, all public safety does that. We do a community collaboration, based food drive. We have trunk or treat, it just passed. We have upcoming, coat giveaway, which will be on the 20th of November. We do, shop with the cop for the holidays. Chief Shorter has, Hip Hop Day of Service in November, this month also, or he'll be doing that again, I think, before the end of this month. And we ensure, what our drive is to integrate and engage, not the 1990s version of community policing, but the version that is current today of engagement, being a partner in the community. Next slide, Jonathan. One more. So, more importantly, we've revamped our community engagement unit, our community resource unit, and we are out there all the time, not just in the classrooms, engaging our young folks, right? Implementing GREAT and DARE, implementing those programs so gang resistance education, right, is very important in this school system, as is DARE, drug awareness and resistance. So we want to make that connection at elementary and middle schools. We want to give the information to these young folks at a young age, right? So then what we're doing on the other side of that is where we can intervene in a high school age student. We have to approach that a little differently, but we support all of the programs that City Schools brings in that intervention. Great thing there. Sorry, I'm going as fast.
21, Jonathan.
21. So the last thing that is after GREAT and DARE, the last thing I wanted to mention was, and this is a small one, but it's throughout many of the schools in the district, AAA Safety Patrol, right? So we integrate ourselves into, I'm sorry, I do want to speak about Dorothy Heights in a second, but we integrate ourselves with these students at large to give them the feeling that they are part of the team on the safety patrol, right? And Chief Shorter is deeply steeped in that initiative. Last, the inaugural GREAT cohort was held here in this school, right? That's them on the screen. I know that Sergeant Covington and Chief Shorter were extraordinarily excited about that kickoff, that inaugural cohort, which we want to continue, not only here at Dorothy Heights, we want to spread that across the district, and we plan on doing so. So on slide 22, Jonathan, you'll see that we have policy and procedure within the police department is evolutionary, right? These aren't documents that stay the same all the time. We true test ourselves based on current law, based on incidences that occur, based on school policy, and we make sure that through legal counsel and through the district that our policies are revisited and reviewed to make sure they are as current and as applicable, and of course within the confines of the law and the district. So our policies are on a rotating schedule for review and amendment where necessary. And Chief Shorter, as the list that you'll see on the screen, they're the first dozen-ish that we've gone through and made amendments to, and they were just recently brought forth. I think it was in July of this year. So I thank you. My thanks to the board for bringing those forward, and look for our policies to continually be updated, amended, and made as current and as effective as professional policing can bring forth.
Appreciate it. We appreciate the update on this policy. Commissioner, as soon as you have any questions, I'm going to ask that the questions be responded to in writing.
Yes, sir.
Okay, on my end, I want to highlight two things. Despite the increase that we see, and I think that increase is connected to us actually doing a stronger job at reporting. we still remain below the state's average when it comes to us. So always like to highlight that because it shows a level of commitment to this policy.
Yeah.
And integrating our work and ensuring that we are policing in a way that represents our commitment to our students. So I wanted to highlight that. The other piece, of course, the zero excessive fines, amazing, right? That we are here and we have none. Kudos. Can we get through the year?
Well, we're gonna do everything we can to do so.
Absolutely. So, and I think my question just from, is in consistency. That what I see and what I get reports from in one school may not always reflect with all schools. And I think that sometimes when we have student engagement, that students there are two sets of students. There are students, and both sets love to let you know how you feel. You gotta have students that are having amazing engagements with officers, and they want everyone to know. And then you have those students that do not. And how are we ensuring that both voices help us to ensure that each offer is reflecting the same character, the same processes at each school? Each school has its own need, but I think that our policy leads us to have SBOs that represent excellence. We want to be able to hear, at least I want to be able to hear, how do we ensure that officers represent the district the same across the board? And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
And I know you want a written response, but we did recently just have our student school police advisory committee that we have, and they're going to be giving us feedback on exactly what it is that we shared in addition to the school police report card.
Right, but I think I did have a question, but I didn't, yeah, because it's holding out for the time, I'm like, but it really is around the school report card and just whose voices are included in that, and how, whose voices are really included in that report card. And it's just held by us or other entities involved in that. So I'll stop there.
But you brought up an important point, and then we're gonna absolutely stop, right? I'm sorry, because this is something that weighs heavy on this committee. The adult interactions in our schools I need insight to understand how we as a board can help to support reduction of those adult interactions. They are uncalled for. We are hyper focused to ensure that our students are safe, but our teachers and our leaders are safe.
Yeah.
And if our leaders and our teachers are met with unwarranted behavior that we would never accept from a student, we have to have the same expectations for adults that come in our building, way higher. And right now, I don't have a clear vision on how we get there. But I think that with your insight, it would help us really be able to understand what we could potentially do in policy to ensure that students and every adult connected to our school feel safe, particularly from those that are not students. So thank you. Sorry, I had to get that out. All right, next policy. Yes, compliance report, JKA, behavioral interventions and student discipline. This is, you are last up, so I promise you. This is going to be quick and we don't have any.
Thank you for welcoming us to the live edition of Safety and Wholeness. So I just want to give a brief, John, you can bring it up for a second, but I just want to give a brief overview. This is JKA. This is actually a compliance report, but every year we put it in the for presentation purposes. We put it in a PowerPoint because it's just so much data. It's just easier to digest and to view it in a PowerPoint version, but it's actually a compliance report. So JKA is the Behavioral Interventions and Student Discipline Board Policy, which is JKA. It comes with 5 regulations, JKA, RA through RV. When we're doing this compliance report, it is specifically asking us for very specific data. And if you turn to slide number 5, this is what it is asking for in the compliance section of the board policy JKA. So it's asking for out of school suspensions by grade, race and ethnicity, by gender, by students with disabilities, and the number of city school students who receive more than 1 out of school suspension within the academic year. Next slide, please. It also asks, in addition to suspension data, it asks us for the use, and this is where we partner with our colleagues from the special ed office, the use of exclusion and physical restraints, as well as the implementation of student behavioral interventions. And that is those interventions are defined in one of the regulations, which is JKA-RA. And then lastly, it asks us about reportable offenses. Our diversion information, as you can tell, Major Ellis, we collaborate with the school police office, and he had our diversion information. If you look at that full compliance report, you will be able to find our diversion numbers, which our office now, because it previously sat in school police, school diversions now sit in our office, the Office of Student Conduct and Attendance. There are 3 ways in which students can be diverted through school police. We get diversions through our suspension data that are called into our office through long-term and extended suspensions, as well as schools can directly refer students to our office for diversion. So those are the 3 ways. But again, all of that information can now be found in that school police board compliance report. So this is all of the information. If you have any questions around any of the information, because it's cut all of the ways that is required by compliance report, and we have cut it in some additional ways for you as well. So if you have any questions around that, we would be happy to address them. Just to give you a very, very high level, a summary, if you could go to slide number 7, please. John, this is a very high level report of the compliance report. And it's again speaking about data for the end of school year 24-25. We had 699 in-school suspensions, and we had, which was a slight reduction from the previous year. And then we had 7,735 out-of-school suspensions. That does include our short-term suspensions, 1 to 3 days, our long-term suspensions, 4 to 10 days, and our extended suspensions, which are 11 to 44 days, and then any expulsions that we may have. And so we had 20, there was a decrease of 74 in-school suspensions, and there was actually an increase of all of those types of suspensions I just named combined. There was an increase of 24 additional out-of-school suspensions last school year, 24-25. The greatest grade band that represented students who were suspended for out-of-school suspensions were high school students, that grade band of 9 through 12. And there was a 3.9% increase from the previous school year 23-24. And then there were more male students that were suspended over female students. And of course, because of our demographics for city schools, the greatest race and ethnicity were Black students, which represented 88.2%. It also asked us to report around health-related exclusions, and those students are not suspended, but they are excluded from school because they do not have the proper immunization or their vaccines. And it was a slight decrease from the previous year. There were 101 incidents of students who are excluded due to not being compliant with their immunizations. So that's the very high level overview again. But if you have any questions around any of the data that's included in their compliance report, we will be happy to address that for you.
And if you have any questions, you can respond in writing rather than right now. Any questions from me? I'll say I have a statement and a question. We are looking in the future at tough budget in the next couple of years. And there will definitely be some changes. And I think that there are some areas that we have to ensure safe on those changes. When I look at your data, and I appreciate the presentation and the work that you're doing, there are maybe 20 schools where suspensions are clustered. And I bring that up solely to say that to my fellow commissioner and possible commissioners online, that the work to ensure safety is not one where we can cut corners. The impact that it has on our school environments is one that is extremely costly. So we need to ensure that in our effort of protecting dollars, that we take a presentation like this into consideration. And when we see that suspensions are clustering in a specific area, then that probably should be looking at how we're allocating dollars in that area, whether there are practices that need to change or whether there are allocations that need to be directed when we can clearly define where these numbers come from. With that, thank you for the presentation. And we are going to close out. And as is our norm, for those, if this is your first time with us for Safety and Wholeness Committee, we'd like to close out with a quote. Our children are not statistics. They are possibilities. And when we choose their safety, we choose their future and the future of our city. Word to us, Malcolm X. Good night. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah. Your appreciation. Yeah, we also have.